Intrepid viewers, how are you? Welcome to tomorrow. It's Monday lunchtime in Australia. Now, I woke up this morning to see the latest on the Yeti, which was he's saying through his very strange and inadequate lawyers, he can't testify in these cases because he's under a gag order. And speaking of gagging, does he think we are all idiots? Like, everyone who pays attention in the world actually knows the parameters of those gag orders, right? Nothing to do with him testifying. This is purely a tantrum. And speaking of tantrums, was it Cassidy Hutchinson, I think, or one of those young women who's recently given testimony, saying when he got angry and he's got a volcanic temper, he'd throw ketchup at the walls. And I think a lot of ketchup must have been flying. Now, in another interesting development, Mark Meadows, who's in the process of putting out a book, they all do, don't they, really? His publishers are suing him because he signed a contract saying, to the best of my knowledge, everything in this book will be as factual as I can possibly make it. It's a general sort of caveat for this sort of book. So he signed it, and then he said in the book, apparently, I would never read it. I'd rather read George Santos's book. He denies the election. He's an election denier. He's saying it was stolen, and his publishers are not happy. All Seasons Press, and they're suing him. They're suing him. Wow. And I think I digress already. Must have been on the Midas touch or something, where even the most right-wing of the right-wing media outlets are now putting disclaimers of some sort. That's OAN, Fox, all of them. Legal disclaimers about the election not being stolen. So obviously there's a bit of butt covering going on for future law cases, But it's probably in print so small you couldn't see it or something, but they're doing it. So back to this. All Seasons Press, Mark Meadows being sued. What will happen in this case? Let's have a look. Oh, I don't think he's going to win this case. You have to think. So the book was a bit of a windfall in the sense someone will buy it, But this can also be fool's gold. He has gone into print saying he thought the election was, not that he thought, well, denying all the rubbish about the election. And the publishers are not comfortable with that, right? He does not assert the election was not stolen and in fact indicates it was. So fool's gold for them and for him in a way. He thought he'd save his own sorry ass by doing this action. They all hope to stay in the good graces of MAGA. He gets the Three of Cups, which is he thought he'd pulled it off. He'd got the book. He managed to weasel word his way around saying all the critical things, and he thought he'd pulled it off. But here comes the Queen of Cups. And in this case, for those learning tarot, this card's often about the lid on the cup or off the cup. But in this case, the lid slammed shut. And I think this will impact him. I think he'll come away with a few war wounds from this and probably have to reimburse the publishers. And then, amazingly, you watch, he won't have any money. These people who try and tell the poor how to live all the time. They're rich as, and they never seem to have any money. So maybe they're not that good at economics. You know, you've got a Speaker of the House who doesn't have a bank account. You know, like, really, words fail me. That's a rare event. Okay, now McCarthy gone, George Santos gone. They only had a majority of 4 before these two. So they've got this slim majority if anyone resigns or gets ill or anything. So let's have a look. I want to look at the behind the scenes of Congress, the behind the scenes. What's happening behind the scenes? You know, just absolutely amazing. Here we go. Behind the scenes with this tiny majority. Oh, they're working at it. Now, this, in fact, I would say this spread is really their entire dilemma. Let me explain why. So, on the one hand, they're trying to work out how they're going to deal from here. You know, so can they get another Republican in McCarthy's seat and all of that? It's been a red seat, as I understand it, for a long time. But they can't agree on anything. 5 of Wands. It just goes round and round and round. So the problem for them, normally the Star is one of the most fabulous cards ever. Inspiration, hope, and all those good things, wishes fulfilled, follow your dream. But it's like a perverted version of the Star. Because here's the Ace of Wands, the Fred Flintstone card. These people actually don't have the intellectual capacity, the political will, or even the political savvy to save themselves. And so the Queen of Pentacles here, I think this is going to be donors complain. I think this is one of the reasons they're trying to get their act together, is the donors are saying, look, we're a year out now, we're watching you. If you keep carrying on with this rubbish, we will not fund you. Many of them have pulled the money, and a lot of it's going to Nikki Haley. Hate that. Okay, so there's a financial inspiration for them, but they can't work it out. They can't work it out. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now, let's dovetail back for a minute to Florida and that senior GOP person and his lovely wife, Moms for Liberty, you know, who have been active in destroying public education in Florida and beyond, you know, and they were caught with the threesome, and there's ugly dimensions. We've spoken about that before. But what I don't understand is, where are they actually coming from with this undermining, sabotaging education? It's like they're saying, I don't want these liberals filling my child's head with kindness and tolerance. I won't have it. You know, I want them to be as ignorant and bigoted as I am. That seems to be their position. You know, that's scary as a parenting goal. Very scary. But look, we'll see as it plays out. On the other hand, I've got another small story for you that is a bit more positive. And it's a tiny town in Colorado, Silverton, 600 or 700 people, right? And they've been split along political lines, and it got wider recently with the mayor saying maybe we shouldn't have the Pledge of Allegiance. So you can imagine that would set off the right wing. Anyway, things were getting really bad, but they had the wherewithal to look for outside help. And there's people who do community building professionally, teams that come in. And they came in and they got people talking. And you know what? When people actually spoke to each other, as opposed to screaming at each other, they've come to an understanding. Imagine that. Dialogue, understanding. What a radical idea, Now, I want to go on to Kate Cox here in a moment in Texas. But look, before I do, just the GOP generally, because they're always in the culture wars, they're always in your bedroom. Why is that? And then they get caught doing other things. If hypocrisy was a crime, the jails would be full, would they not, intrepid viewers? It's so frustrating to watch this over and over and over, But it's come to a head this week. Poor woman in Texas, God, married woman, 2 kids, pregnant with the 3rd baby. They were very much looking forward to this baby. But at 5 months of pregnancy, diagnostic tests confirmed that the fetus has a very serious and indeed fatal condition. This baby will not live. Right? So it's a question of a stillbirth or hours, maximum days. And she asked for an exemption from their draconian laws and didn't get it. And Ken Paxton, is he Attorney General or Governor General of Texas, whatever he is? And I'll just say about Ken Paxton, love, I said, pet, the next time you get pregnant, you can have an opinion on this, right? Until then, zip the lid. But anyway, he said no. And he's threatened doctors, hospitals, anyone who helped this woman. So what I want to know is, will this case, it's a bit like the pregnant 10-year-old, will this case move the dial for Texas women? Will this case move the dial? Texas women. Let's check it out. Oh, yeah, this is very interesting. I think you can get away with this repressive stuff for so long, and then it turns. So at the moment, these figures are out in the cold. This is indicating to me that the GOP male hierarchy is out of touch, right? They're out in the cold with this issue. They've learnt nothing from these mini elections where abortion has pushed the blue vote. No, la, 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 right? They won't listen. Women, I think, are organising, Night of Wands, this is action, right? I think they're organising. They're at the point of taking the blindfold off. I think there's a very strong Christian community. And what's happened, I can tell you for nothing, in most of these very strong Christian communities, although there are many women who go through unwanted pregnancies and other things, also many of them historically have also had to seek backyard abortions and things like that, because sometimes you just can't afford to feed another baby or whatever reason. They're at this crossroads and they're about to take the blindfold off them. I'm hoping this is, and take action. And I think maybe some women or families or something are going to sue the state of Texas. This is a judicial card. Wouldn't that be interesting? Overdue. Okay. So let's have a look now. There's been a run of Christian pastors who are separating themselves and their flock from the Yeti. You know, just too long of this crude, vulgar, inexcusable stuff. The rapture hasn't happened. Maybe many of them thought, you know, he represents the beginning of the end and they'd be swept up into the arms of Jesus. And that hasn't happened. So they've had to rethink. And now because they've been critical of the Yeti, they're being trolled and doxed and threatened and stuff as fake Christians. Isn't it typical? They turn instantly on their own, don't they? Instantly. Oh, I'm going to use the circus cards. These people deserve no better. So what's happening with, Christians and the Yeti? What is happening with Christians and the Yeti? Christians and the Yeti. Christians and the Yeti. Okay. I'm going to do a 5-card spread for them. Oh. All right. Now, I like these cards. I'd forgotten about them. I use them occasionally in collaborations. Okay. In the center, they've been doing their acrobatics around this issue because the Yeti is not behaving any differently than he did in 2015, 2016. But they did all these gymnastics, right, around supporting him. They swallowed a lot. I'll leave that thought with you and let him get away with it because they were getting the conservative judges and it was all very appealing. So they just ate the fire. The stolen election, I think, ironically, was a bridge too far for some of these people. They actually realized, boom, oh, this isn't good for democracy in America. They actually had a bit of a revelation, and I'm sure they're talking to each other. Okay, but it's also the theft of faith, right? Because he's so corrosive and vulgar and vile, supporting him corrodes their own faith. And I think they realize this. The Emperor, this looks a bit like Trump in a frock, does it not? Okay. Now he's getting worse, not better. I think this is what's happening because a few months ago, you were getting people who were accusing their pastors of not being strong and dumb enough. You know, they were just saying things like Jesus was weak. You know, I mean, it's a polluting force. And there he is. I love that idea. Outcome, the moon. So we're not clear yet where this will stand. But they've had one term of him. But now they're seeing the repercussions of that. So I don't think en masse they're going to wake up and become tolerant people or anything. God knows. You know, shouldn't the Old Testament be out of print? You know, please, at least use the New Testament. But no. So their faith is deep and it's unclear and it's unfounded and it's not a rational thing. The moon is not a rational card. So I don't know how much impact it will eventually have. Now, what I wanted to share with you, and I'll pin to the comments, many of you know, what's her name? I should remember it. Heather Cox Richardson. You know that one? She's an academic, an historian, and she's written a book called, and think about this title, The Tyranny of the Minority. So I'm putting up the link where she talks about the book, okay, and her insights. Very interesting. And I think that's what America's living under at the moment. Tyranny of the minority. So let's hope you guys go forth and multiply. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.